This bridge should never have been this hard to build. 14 miles of water between New York and New England. That's it. This is the Long Island Sound crossing. For 70 years, experts have called it impossible, too expensive, too controversial, too complicated. If you live on Long Island and want to drive to Connecticut, Rhode Island, or Boston, just across the water, there is still no direct way. You can either pay for a ferry or crawl for 3 hours through some of the most congested roads in America. The designs are done, the engineering is proven, but every single attempt has died before a shovel touched the ground. And here's the crazy part. Other states have already built longer links in worse conditions for a fraction of this price. So why is this 14 gap still empty? Today we're going inside New York's $55 billion plan to finally connect Long Island to New England and the uncomfortable reasons it keeps failing. Long Island has a problem. Nassau and Suffolk counties are home to nearly 3 million people, more than half the population of Chicago and larger than 15 U.S. states. Yet it's one of the most isolated major population centers in America. Every single road connection to the mainland goes through New York City. There is no other way out. For a century, this gap divided the region. Long Island became a suburban bedroom community for New York City because that was the only place it could easily reach. Central Connecticut remained underdeveloped with no connection to Long Island's wealth. Today, the bridges connecting Long Island to the mainland have become the worst bottleneck in the Northeast. The Throgs Neck and Whitestone carry over 400,000 vehicles per day. During rush hour, a 20-minute trip takes 3 hours. The only alternative is a ferry that runs once an hour, takes 75 minutes, and costs over $150 round trip. To drive from Bridgeport, Connecticut to Port Jefferson, Long Island, a 14-mile straight line, you must drive 95 miles through New York City. Then there's an even darker problem. In October 2012, Hurricane Sandy hit. Long Island residents were told to evacuate, but there was only one way out through New York City. The highways became parking lots. Thousands couldn't evacuate in time. Over 40 people died during the storm. Scientists project that by 2040, Category 4 hurricanes will regularly threaten the Northeast. When the next big one comes, millions will have the same single escape route. The idea of bridging Long Island Sound isn't new. In 1955, Robert Moses, who built the Verrazzano and Triborough, proposed a 6-mile bridge from Oyster Bay to Rye. But coastal residents on both sides erupted. They didn't want the traffic or their views ruined. By 1973, after nearly 2 decades of fighting, the federal government killed the plan. The idea kept returning in the 1980s, 1990s, and 2000s. Moses's original proposal would have cost about $800 million in today's dollars. By 1975, a multi-bridge scheme came in at $1.4 billion. By 2008, a private tunnel proposal was priced at $10 to $13 billion. And in 2017, when New York's WSP feasibility study was completed, $55 billion. WSP analyzed 3 routes across the Sound, studying wind patterns, shipping lanes, environmental impact, and construction logistics. They concluded it could be built, but it would be the most expensive bridge in American history. They proposed 3 designs. First, an all-bridge solution with 6 lanes and cable-stayed towers rising 340 meters, foundations 100 feet below the seabed, spanning 14 miles. Cost, $16.5 billion. Second, an all-tunnel solution with twin bores carved 150 feet below the seabed, 3 lanes each direction. Cost, over $55 billion. Third, a hybrid like Virginia used for Chesapeake Bay in 1964. Bridge approaches on shallow water, then dipping into a tunnel beneath the deep shipping channel before rising back to bridge. Cost, $35 to $40 billion. WSP concluded the project was technically feasible. So in 2018, New York and Connecticut had everything they needed. And then, nothing happened. Why? 3 answers. First, the environment. Long Island Sound took 40 years and $4 billion to clean up. Construction would dredge millions of cubic yards of sediment. Second, local communities. Connecticut's Gold Coast residents don't want a 340-meter bridge tower in their backyards. Port Jefferson residents fear Connecticut commuters would turn their village into a highway rest stop. Third, politics. Connecticut Governor Ned Lamont called it incredibly complicated and supremely expensive. Translation: we're not paying for it. But the answer might have more to do with profits. Every day, hundreds of thousands of Long Island commuters pass through toll plazas operated by the MTA, generating enormous revenue. In 2024, the MTA collected $2.3 billion in bridge and tunnel tolls. An estimated $1.2 billion came from Long Island commuters who have no other choice. If a Long Island Sound crossing opens, traffic studies estimate 60% of Connecticut-bound traffic would divert to the new bridge. That's $700 million per year in lost revenue. Over 30 years, $21 billion. Over 50 years, $35 billion. Meanwhile, New York has spent billions on other transportation projects. 2nd Avenue Subway, East Side Access, Penn Station rebuild, all projects that bring people into Manhattan, none that let them bypass it. But there's one place that broke this cycle. 400 miles south, there's a bridge that shouldn't exist. The Chesapeake Bay Bridge Tunnel in Virginia. A 23-mile fixed link connects Virginia Beach to the Delmarva Peninsula. When construction began in 1960, critics called it insane. The Chesapeake faced everything Long Island does, and worse. They said it would be a financial disaster. They built it anyway. On April 15, 1964, it opened after less than 4 years of construction. Cost $200 million, about $2 billion today. Long Island's hybrid design, $35 billion. That's 17 times more expensive per mile. Today, it carries 4 million vehicles per year and paid off its bonds within 15 years. Virginia isn't the only place that proved impossible bridges can be built. Robert Moses proposed 2 massive bridges in the 1950s and 60s, one connecting Brooklyn to Staten Island, the other Long Island to Connecticut. Same designer, same era, similar opposition. When Moses announced the Verrazzano, Brooklyn erupted. But Moses was chairman of the Triborough Bridge and Tunnel Authority, an independent authority with power to issue bonds, condemn land, and override local objections. Construction began in 1959. The bridge opened November 21, 1964, on schedule and budget. Moses tried to use the same authority for Long Island Sound, but by the 1970s, environmental laws had changed. His power wasn't enough anymore, and the project died. Is the Long Island Sound crossing dead forever? Not necessarily. There are 3 ways this bridge could still be built. In 2025, Connecticut developer Stephen Shapiro revived the idea with an estimated cost around $50 billion. He's pitching it directly to President Trump as federal infrastructure. But there's a second path. What if New York and Connecticut created their own Chesapeake Bay Bridge Tunnel District? A bi-state authority with one mission: build the bridge. And there's a third option that might be smarter than building a bridge at all. Instead of cars, trains, a 16-mile rail tunnel connecting Long Island's Lear to Connecticut's Shoreline East and Metro North, then onward to Hartford, Providence, Boston. Travel time from Long Island to Boston would drop from 5 to 6 hours to 2.5 hours, and it would cost half as much. Modern tunnel boring technology has dropped costs dramatically. A rail tunnel could be built for $15 to $25 billion. As of December 2025, Shapiro's Trump pitch is the most active. He's meeting with federal officials, presenting at conferences, building momentum. If Trump designates it a priority in 2026, federal funding could flow by 2027. Groundbreaking could happen in his second term. After that, the window closes. For 70 years, The Long Island Sound crossing has been the bridge that exists everywhere, except in reality. On paper, it solves some of the worst congestion in the Northeast. Technically, it can be built. Other places already have. The difference isn't engineering, it's power. Those impossible projects had three things Long Island still doesn't: federal backing, a dedicated authority, and the political will to actually break ground.